Now, look, I don't know of anyone who doesn't have a little anxiety about a personal health crisis. And adding to the anxiety is the thought that a gallbladder attack, a kidney stone, or a broken arm would take every last dime in one's savings account. And if it was a heart attack, a stroke, or cancer, then the fear of a possible terminal illness plus bankruptcy, well, let's face it, that's a legitimate cause for stress. So when politicians of either party promise health care for all, or when they promise something similar to that, I mean, we really want to believe that they mean it just as much as we want to believe in the tooth fairy or unicorns, or just as much as we want to believe that we're going to win the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes. Look, universal health care sounds wonderful, and it's often sold in the form of Medicare for All. But I want to tell you what the politicians aren't telling you. Medicare for All would cost about $35 trillion over the next 10 years. I didn't say $1 million or $1 billion, 35 trillion. So to put that in perspective, our entire federal budget for everything in all of the federal government is about $4.4 trillion a year. So Medicare for All would just about double all of the federal spending. Now, we are increasing our national debt about $1 trillion a year already, and we only take in, through all of the revenues we get, about the amount that Medicare for All would cost. But there's some other questions. For example, who defines what health care even means? I mean, is it dental work? Will it cover only acute emergencies or serious diseases that are life-threatening? Or will it include knee replacements, allergy treatments, physical therapy, carpal tunnel surgery? And will it cover such things as transplants, long-term care, or reconstructive surgery? And here's what you need to never forget when you hear the term single-payer health care. That means the government's going to pay for all your health care. But if they pay for it, they and they alone will get to choose what care you actually receive and whether it costs you nothing, something, or maybe everything. Because if the government is the one providing and paying, maybe you ought to ask the big question I never hear people admit in politics. Who is not involved in your health and health care? Who am I speaking of? Well, I'll tell you who. You and your doctor. I mean, the two people closest to your health and your health care, and neither of you are going to set the rules, determine what gets covered and when, or even if your life is still worth saving. Unless you think I'm making some false argument, I want you to remember that right now in the United States, states are proposing and passing laws that will allow a full-term baby who is in the birth canal, minutes away from birth, to be aborted. And if the baby makes it out alive, the mother and doctor would then decide whether to kill it after birth. If a perfectly healthy baby is left to die, I mean, what makes you or me think that we're going to matter enough to the government when we're 70 years old and sick with an expensive disease? I mean, there are a lot of problems that come from the private insurance market. I know that. But the government's role regarding private insurance is to make certain that if you paid for coverage, you at least get it. So what if the one who made the rules also gets to enforce the rules? I mean, who's looking after your interest? Now, there is a way that we can cover everyone, and by the way, it won't even cost much. You know, the far left pushes for Medicare for All, and they also believe that we are not men or women unless we choose to be. And we are whatever we identify as. Heard that before? So folks, if that's the case, it's a simple fix. We all just identify as healthy 21-year-olds, and we identify as being without age or symptoms, pains, aches, or illness. And please don't say that's stupid, because you are not supposed to question how I identify. So there, problem solved. And it won't cost us a thing, because we will all identify as wealthy as well as healthy. And if our pretending to be a girl when our body and chromosomes say we are a boy really works, well, then pretending that we're healthy should work too. So you're welcome. I've solved that problem the liberal way.